Good morning, good morning. It is Monday, the 21st of February, and we are here at Middle Earth readings for this week ahead. My name is Maggie Rose Cunningham. I am the founder of MaggieRose.com, supporting healers, seers, psychics, magicians, mystics in connecting deeply with the Northern European tradition and the runes. Bear with me one moment while I get my front door. I shall work on the assumption that that was a pause while people were getting ready and settling in. Hi Eileen, lovely to see you. I can see that people are arriving. So we have 4 planetary movements that we're going to look at this week. And the theme that I'm really feeling into for this week is the alchemy of collaboration. It's bringing together these different aspects of ourselves. I'm really feeling a sort of oscillating energy and the need for us to manage that. That's coming through in our with runic astrology. It's coming through in things like the weather. We have it certainly here in the UK, these periods of wind and rain and then sun. And I'm certainly feeling my energy body. Excuse me one moment. I've certainly been feeling it in my energy body, this sense that sometimes I've got this real dynamo of energy inside me, and then other times I'm like, wow, I'm really exhausted right now. And I do feel that it's connected with the energies that the planets are bringing us through at this moment in time. I'm also doing some very exciting work in preparation for the Birth Rune Soul Journey program, which is launching on the 7th of March, doing work with all of the energy centers in the body and how they correlate with the birth runes, and working on alchemy, the alchemy of our birth runes with the runes that are coming with the planets and the movements of the planets at this time. So that's probably quite exciting for me, and also means that I'm really working into that oscillating energy. So let's see what comes through for the movements of the planets with that sense of, just moving backwards and forwards and alchemizing ourselves, the communion between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, between our physical body and our energetic body, between times when we are needing to replenish and integrate and be in silence, and times when we're needing to move forward and be dynamic and push, and maybe be in that more of that sort of magician type energy where we're trying to make things happen for ourselves. And I can see that people are already sharing their runes for the week ahead, which is great. So we'll be doing some mini readings on those as we come through. But let's have a little look at the planetary movements to start with. So as I said, we've got 4 planetary movements this week. So on the 22nd, so tomorrow, Odin's chariot is moving. It's moving into Algis here, and it's returning to Algis because of the retrograde motion. So it went, Odin went back into Perthro, and now it's back into Algis, and he's starting to move forward, and he's starting to get that momentum. And you can see, for me, this is almost looking a bit like a crossroads, and thinking about Odin as the wanderer, wandering amongst the people, reminding us that the Norse gods, similar to to other gods, similar to other sort of certainly. What's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it. Pantheistic, not polytheistic. That's what I know. Polytheistic religions where the gods were said to walk among us, sometimes in disguise, and it's like looking for that advice and guidance, and looking for the hand of the divine within that. So for those of you who read the blog or get Suna's Star Wheel, you'll know that the advice that I've given for this planetary movement for Odin's chariot in Algis is to call for backup. It's looking for support, and it's recognizing that support can come from quite surprising sources, places that we might have said, oh no, that person won't help me, or no, I can't ask from here. And it's sort of saying, look for the hand of the divine rather than judging. No, so say, I need support, and then call it in and see where it comes from, and see it as the threads of the divine with the Algis rune, the rune of guidance, the rune of protection, the rune of our connection with the gods. That sometimes it is the hand of the divine at play through a person or through an opportunity, even though we might not always have had the most supportive relationship from them in the past. So looking at that. Then on the 24th, so just a couple of days later, we have Tyr's chariot is moving into Perthro. So Odin's chariot moves quite fast. It's one of the high resonators. Tears Chariot works more with the energy of the present, let's say. Odin draws us forward, yes, what's forward, what's next. Tears Chariot and Thor's Chariot as well, they're more sort of grounded and centred in the present, more about the energy that we bring to a particular moment. And moving into Perthro, this is where the alchemy starts to come in, because Tyr, excuse me, I'm coughing so much now. Tyr, this is his rune, Tewaz, which we're going to be talking about in a moment anyway. The god Tyr is often seen as being that, like the arrow, the sword, poised. And Perthro is like the cup. So you can see that it's almost like, for those of you who are Wiccan bent there, we've got the sword and the chalice, or the dagger and the chalice, that union and that alchemy of the masculine and the feminine. But we can think about it in other ways as well, of, what's the word, like the still and the moving. We've talked about the rooted and the walking comes through as well. Sort of I don't like the word passive, that sounds wrong, but sort of the active and the passive, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like real profound stillness. And with Tyr's Chariot here, it's very much talking about looking for the alchemy in the moment. So it might be that conflict is possible, and what we're trying to do is to say, okay, what can this union of opposites achieve for us? And it's not always that we need to be in perfect harmony, that everyone needs to be happy. Sometimes what we're looking for is alchemy. It's more potent. It's a willingness to move into creative conflict and be okay with that, and then move out of it feeling like we found a better solution. It's a bit like, we don't want to, we're not suggesting that you all go out and have like massive rows with everybody around you. That's not what I mean. But I think it's acknowledging that for people who are highly intuitive, for people who are highly empathic, for people who are energetically very sensitive, an environment that has disharmony within it can be really difficult to tolerate. And what we can do is we can put aside our own needs, or we can remain silent, or we can avoid the situation because we find that energy so difficult. And it's saying, how can you say, okay, I'm able to not be in harmony for long enough that I can find the alchemy that's important, how these two things need to combine to create something new and something different for myself, is what Tyr is inviting us into. So if there is a time when you're feeling like, I'm just really uncomfortable right now, and it's just, why is it so hard? Why is it so hard? It's saying, what possible alchemy might there be for me? What creativity might come from this? What newness, what new insights might come from me from this? And then by all means do your retreat, or your enough is enough, or whatever it is that you need to do. But look for the potential there is what Tyr is asking us to move into. And then we have another movement on the 25th. We have Frigg's Chariot moving into Perthro as well. So we're in our Perthro paradigm with Hela's Chariot. One of the really big, deep resonators is holding us in that Perthro energy of change, of karma, of all of the old stuff from previous generations and stuff that has built up, on the planetary scale, is sort of coming into fruition at this point. I say fruition, it's not always the nicest of fruit, but it is a sort of karmic renewal in many ways that's occurring. And with two planets, with Tyr's Chariot and Frigg's Chariot in Perthro, it's going to bring out that energy, which is possibly why we'll get some of those conflict moments, or those feelings of lack of harmony coming through. Whereas Tyr is saying, look for the alchemy, look for the potency. That's one side of it. Frigg is saying, and then step into silence. So again, it's not just about saying what's the alchemy of the moment for me. It's about saying, on a day-to-day, every day, and possibly every hour even at this point, think to yourself, okay, what's the movement, what's the alchemy, what's the dynamic position that I want to take? And what's the silence, what's the integration that I need to do? So for me, for example, I do have a lot on at the moment, and I was like, okay, how can I be creative enough, be energized enough to get these things done? So I'm working on all of my productivity and fruitfulness stuff is working for me at the moment, and I'm finding that creative energy. But one of the ways that I'm doing that is through doing very deep meditations, and very deep. I was talking about doing work with my birth runes and feeling into all of the energy centers, chanting them into the energy centers in my body. That being still, being in silence, being in myself, rather than engaging with the outside world. So again, it's that's the alchemy of two different forms of self. So you're going to be looking for that balance. It's really important at this time. So try and keep yourself in balance and try and make sure that you've got time both for active, dynamic, and for stillness. Integration comes through very strongly. So momentum and integration might be a nice way of looking at it. I move forward and then I integrate. I move forward and then I integrate. If I don't do that, I'm not really moving forward because I'm just going to go round in circles. Okay, and then on the 26th, we have Suna's chariot moving into Tewaz. So again, tears rune. So tears really present. And that's going to bring us a little bit more of that momentum energy. So if you're feeling a bit like, oh, nothing is moving forward, when the 26th comes, so 5 days' time, that tear will give us a little bit more of that ability to move forward and to feel directed and not to feel distracted by loads of stuff that's going on. So tuning into support, feeling into the alchemy of like momentum integration, and being patient, knowing that it's almost like the bow is stretching back now. We're in that place where the bow is stretching back, and then when do we let it fly? Is what we're looking for with Tears chariot. And as I say, because of this sort of oscillating energy, it might well be that what you're looking to do through the course of your day is to do this, sort of draw back, silence, and then go, and then draw back, silence, and then go. Is what you're looking for, and that will really help you to harness the energies of the runes for this week ahead. Let's see, Esther, lovely to see you. So you've got Algis, so that's very much that Adinic energy, the wanderer, looking for support, looking for it in unlikely places. Odin feels quite present as well, Esther, there. He's so interested. I can sort of see him like cocking an eyebrow a little bit there. What is it that he wants to say? I think that what he wants to say is that sometimes we need support and sometimes we are the supporter, and he's almost indicating that sometimes simply being you is enough. Imagine Odin, he's rocking up to somebody's hall, he's all disguised, normally he's an old man with his stick and looking out under his hat, and he doesn't come in and say, what can I offer you, what can I do for you. He comes in and he expects to be hosted, and his hosts to fulfill the obligations of being generous hosts. And what he then does is he offers story. He tells stories and he entertains and he does that, but he doesn't immediately come in and say, can I have a place at your table and can I offer stories? He's just himself. And it's sort of saying that sometimes the support that you offer doesn't have to be, you don't have to offer all of yourself, you can simply be. And that is being supportive to others. That being yourself is simply enough. We don't have to go wild and go mad. And that applies out both ways, isn't it? Sometimes that's all we need is to connect with somebody else and be heard and have them be themselves with us and feel into that sort of authenticity of connection. So it might not be massive things, Esther. It might simply be being present for somebody else. Is all that you would need to do in order to be the supporter, and in order to feel like, yes, I can now reach out and look for that support. So it's a two-way street, the support that Algis is offering. Hi Marie, lovely to see you. Felicity, you have Manners. That's a really nice grounded energy for this week. I think that it's almost, the Manners rune can be seen as being two Wunyo runes, kind of sort of looking at each other. It's that sense of joy. So given where we are with the oscillating energy that I've been talking about, that sense of alchemy, what I would suggest for you is sort of saying, manners doesn't always require us to be, like super confident in ourselves. I'm claiming my sovereignty, or I'm doing this, and proclaiming ourselves to the world. It's also about knowing ourselves very deeply. And I wonder whether it's almost saying to you, giving you an invitation to say, okay, what are the two sides of myself that I can honour through the course of this week and recognise as being of equal value to each other, and that it is that unique combination of those bits that comes together to create you. They're not going to give me indicators of what those different parts of the self might be, but it is that sense maybe of not looking outwards so much as saying, what do I need to do for myself internally to claim that sense of sovereign identity and to recognise different aspects of myself as equally contributing and creating that strength that the Manas rune offers, that sense of deep solidity, of being sort of enthroned, being with your land, being deeply confident in yourself, comes from a place of knowledge and self-awareness. So I think that maybe it is almost like looking at your Manas rune and seeing it as two Wunya runes that come together and they sort of see each other and they bring that pleasure and that joy through seeing each other and recognising their differences. So it may well be about saying, okay, sometimes when we feel a sense of duality in ourselves, it can be challenging for us. We feel it's uncertain, which is the authentic me. And the Manas rune says, no, there's no such thing as, that. It's the way that everything comes together. It's the synergy of all those different pieces and the ability for them to collaborate with each other. That is the sovereign self. It isn't saying, I am this and I am this at all times. I hope that's helpful, Felicity. Marie, you've got Feiyu. Oh, really nice, warm energy coming through. I can feel it in my arms and my hands and my feet as I'm really feeling that into you. Have you had Feiyu before, Marie? I think you might have had Feiyu before. I know that you've been looking at developing a practice for yourself at the moment in your mastery journey, and I don't want to sort of talk about it because obviously it's a personal journey in the mastery space. It's a different container for this, but for me there is something about working at quite a subtle level with your own energy centers using the Feiyu rune. Literally, I think there's a little bit about this in awakening, like working on Feiyu. But when I teach people, when we will look at wealth challenges, if they're having challenges with wealth or with health, and I do healing work with them, we look very much at how the Feiyu energy is flowing through the body, like very physically. But for you, I'm feeling it more in the energy centers as part of your work is to almost embark on a healing journey for yourself that might then be something that you apply to clients later on, of looking for where there might be blockages to Feiyu energy, and I'm feeling them more in the sort of abdomen and torso and knees, less at the extremities. It felt like the Feiyu energy was flowing really nicely in my arms and my legs, but there might be some voids, some places to look at. If you want any more on that, just post in the mastery group, Marie. We'll have a little chat about that. Suzanne, let me see. You have Bacano and Chen has Dargars. I thank you for passing that on Chen's behalf. So, Bacano for Suzanne. It's quite a different energy. It links in very beautifully with the Pathro rune, but it's providing a level of stability and solidity that I think is quite nice, because the Pathro rune can make us feel quite rocky and like, oh, what's going on? And the Bacano rune brings you deeper. It's almost like it offers that space that Yggdrasil does to humanity at the point when the waters rise. We have Ragnarok and then the waters rise and everything is cleansed and all the waters go, and there are humans that shelter within the world tree. And I'm seeing that Bacano energy almost as doing that, but recognising that you are both the sheltered and the shelterer. Like you have the ability to create this cocooning effect for yourself and the people that you work with as well. That sense of being safe and protected and deeply anchored into those energies of the earth. And there's also a sense of, really, I know it's storming out there, but of looking for the spring. Sort of saying, just in terms of a practice, like a mindfulness practice, something that will even further keep that Bacano energy going for you, is to sort of like you start to look for the signs of spring, honour that earth connection that I know that you have through your crystals as well, will be really helpful for you in creating a contained space for you and for others. I get that sense that that's important at this time. Why that's the case, I don't know. That's a mystery, but it's that sense that that you are able to carry that Bacano energy and channel it through you, but also for others as well. Chen, you have Dargaz, so some new enlightenment coming through, new beginnings calling, It does complement the Perthrow energies. It suggests a sort of clarity, whereas with Perthrow we can sometimes feel as if we're floating and we're having to trust and just go, oh, whatever's happening, we'll just trust it and we'll float with the, the flow of the energy that's coming. Dargaz does provide us with the ability to see, where are we going and what's happening, and a vision and a picture. Intellectually, I want to say that there might be some impatience, but I'm not feeling it energetically. I think what the Dargaz rune is offering is, it's saying, connect, use that clarity and use that insight, but recognise that our two different eyes can sometimes have different perspectives. So the Dargaz rune, if I can find it, I'll show it to people, but it looks a little bit like a angular Mobius loop. So it's got these two triangles that are facing each other and they're forming this loop. And I'm seeing it almost as being, we've been talking about duality, haven't we, about sort of oscillation. And it's almost that, this is going to sound ridiculous, but what I'm seeing, Chen, is literally you looking at something and then closing one eye and looking at it and then closing the other eye and looking at it like that and seeing how that changes your perspective. I think it probably is a bit more complex than that, but I think the idea is to, by doing that, you are literally saying, what are the perspectives that I could take on this situation? How could I see this differently? There you go. So you needed to find it, Dargaz rune. That Dargaz allows us to see that it does have these two dual parts, and it's only this tiny bit in the centre where these two triangles align. And Dargaz does, it allows us to move into that place of alignment. But what it's suggesting this time is almost what you need to do is to be inhabiting these two triangles, able to see different perspectives. Perhaps this is in terms I mentioned, like conflict or challenge coming through. So it might be that it's saying, when you're able to take a step back and do the one eye, eye closed, to say, what could another take on, or what could another take or another reading on this situation be? And I'm seeing Odin, obviously he's just got the one eye, because the other is, he gives it to Mimir's Brune so that he can literally take a different perspective. He's looking at the world from a different place. So I'm almost seeing it there. I've got my practical, what's happening in the moment eye, and I've got my wisdom, what's happening underneath eye, and it's cultivating those that I think is important for you, Chen. I hope that's helpful. Victoria, you have Rado, so we've got rhythm. So I think that for you, this is very much about, we've got the rhythm, we've got the road, we've got that momentum, and Rado provides a really nice sense of using the Tewaz Perthrow energy of momentum and integration that I've been mentioning, and saying that it is about, excuse me again, it is about routine, ritual, habit forming, and really looking at them and saying, okay, how do the... I prefer thinking about them as rituals to habits. How does the time that I eat my breakfast support me, either in building my momentum for the day, or in being in stillness and giving myself a space for integration in the day? How does my walk do that? Am I mindfully in a space where I'm looking to integrate and give myself space and time, or am I trying to move forward through this? And walking, in actual fact, which is a very good thing to do to bring forward the energy of Rado, is interesting because our bodies are moving forward, but our minds are often settling at that point, because we can't actually do a lot of the things that we're thinking about. So doing walking and working really hard on your mindfulness as you walk is an excellent way of sort of bringing the integration momentum, the alchemy moment into that one moment. With the, like I was saying about the Dargaz rune, we've got this central point where the two parts come together. But the majority of the time, we are either in a space of I'm integrating, I'm in stillness, which enables momentum, or we are in momentum, actually doing something and achieving something. So it would be looking about, very, very specifically at those habits that you have through the day, and saying, do they support me in moving forward, or are they about integration? Or how could I use them in that way? How could I use the washing up as a chance to create a sort of ritual space. I remember one of my coaches offered that to me, as in, I hate the washing up, I hate doing it, and she was like, how could you make it a sacred act so that you enjoy it? And I have my bamboo, all my stuff, and my eco-friendly stuff, and I have music, and I have vases, flowers in and things. I actually quite enjoy doing the washing up now. And that, I was just like, wow, I actually do the washing up quite frequently. Do I just want to spend it just being like, oh, I hate it? Or do I want to enjoy it and use it as a time for integration, just peace? So that's what I would suggest that you do with your radar room. Eileen, you've got Ansus, so communication, much more freedom coming through. I'm really feeling Odin's energy there with his chariot in Algis. It's about partnership again. It is that alchemy. Something there about writing. What comes to mind is journaling, but I'm a bit like, well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because does that bring us into communion or collaboration in any way? Does it support us? I mean, I suppose that it does. It supports us in coming into communion and collaboration with ourselves, listening to the sacredness of your own voice. I think there's a freedom. That's what's coming to mind. It's sort of saying it's really important. We're talking about daily rituals at this point, so it's really important in that sense of the Ansus ring gifting freedom. Where do you find your freedom, where you're not constrained by what other people think, or the stuff that you've got to be doing, or by worries about the future, or whatever it is? It's prioritising those moments of freedom. So for some people it might be journaling or reading poetry, or going out on a walk, or doing whatever it is that makes you feel free and allows you to feel free. I would also suggest for you, it might be useful for you to think about energetic cord cutting. So a little bit of if there's anybody that you're struggling with, or any situations that you're struggling with, literally close your eyes and feel that there are sort of cords of light, like threads of light, tying you to the situation or a particular person, and just release them, just seeing them almost like cobwebs when they just suddenly snap, just releasing. You get your energy back, I get my energy back, so that you can be in freedom. I think the Ansus is sometimes known as the unfetterer. So working with that energy, the idea of what can I unfetter, how can I unfetter myself, would be really helpful with the Ansus ring. Lisa, you've got Hagalaz this morning. Ooh, the disruptor. I wonder whether that is partially that sense that sometimes we feel as if change is happening to us, and sometimes we feel as if we are the ones bringing the change, and that might feel challenging, even if we know that it's right. Hagalaz, the hail seed, brings that sense of perfection, that sense of the crystalline plan, the perfect plan that's being aimed towards, and the hailstones come along and they destroy stuff in order for things to be reborn. And sometimes that's our role, is to be in that sort of destroyer space, waiting for the next thing to come, but we're aware that others might not be, it might not be so obvious to them that what we're doing is good in the long run. And I think that might be for you. Sometimes that recognition, I'm the hail seed, I see the bigger picture. Other people might not see the bigger picture, but I still need to do it. But it might also be just about sort of sitting for you and recognising that even when you are driving that, you're still feeling it as well. And I would recommend maybe you doing the Hagalaz meditation on my YouTube channel. Might be useful for you. Or literally just imagining yourself as a hail seed in the whirling storm, and feeling, again, it's slightly different. I said with Eileen it was about freedom. For you, I would feel it as being about claiming that power and allowing it to liberate you, because sometimes it can feel very heavy. And it's sort of about saying, imagine being that whirling hail seed in the storming sky. Where is it that you're going to land? And just breathing into that. Could be really helpful. Suzanne saying, I'm feeling unwell last couple of days, so maybe the Bacano rune, might be useful for you there, just in terms of being protected and contained and cocooned. Joe, you've got Manaz. So we have covered Manaz already with Felicity, and I was looking at how the Wunyo runes come together, And I think that for you, maybe there is a sense of, that duality. And sometimes we can feel like, oh, there are two parts of my life that are so totally distinct from each other, and I don't know how they don't come together. Sometimes it's enough to say, how they come together? They come together through me. That is how they come together. Look at this, this unique being drawing those things together. And sometimes that is the first step to a greater sense of unity, a greater sense of purpose, and a greater sense that, out of all of the things, all of the people, you are the one who has brought these things together in that way. And they are whole. And they are integrated because you are whole and you are integrated. And how you choose to, show up in one particular situation, or how you choose not to show up, or what not to share, doesn't make you less authentic. It doesn't make you like reserved or censoring part of yourself, because you can't do that, because you are already whole. And claiming that sense of wholeness is what I'm sensing from the Man Azrine for you, in addition to what I said for Felicity. Alexis, you've got Suelo, it's a lovely travelling rune of the sun. It's like the little S shape, and we can see it as turning and turning. It brings a slightly different energy to what I've been talking about with the Tewaz and the Perthro runes. And it's almost suggesting that you already have your own momentum with the Suelo rune. I'm doing this now with my body as I'm feeling into that. Maybe, there is more about honouring the solar cycle, like literally honouring the solar cycle, looking at very small things like, when we get up and we open our eyes and we see the sun, it can affect our sidereal rhythms positively, to actually look at the sun, not directly into the sun obviously, but open your eyes to the daylight, even if you have to open a window or open the front door when you get up in the morning. And at sunset, recognising that the sun has now gone, and thinking, am I able to structure in my day in such a way that it's going to allow me that to move into integration. So for you, I'm really feeling that it is almost tuning your energies in more into the cycle of the day. Will be useful for grounding and quite healing in some way as well, even if you sort of think, but I still need to do some work after the sunset. Starting to honour those more, and doing that as frequently as you can could be really, really helpful at this time. Karen, you have Yera. Oh, so interesting that we've just had Suelo, which is sort of like this, and then we've got Yera, we've got sort of coming. So this is a slower cycle for you, Karen, than for Alexis with the daily cycle. So I wonder whether there's something there about perhaps looking at the year that's passed and the year that's to come, either sides of the seasons where you are now, and looking at things like your energy levels, looking at when did I have momentum, and how much time have I had for rest? Is that right for me in the context of the year? What shape does the year hold for you? Have you got sufficient rest planned? Have you got sufficient things that bring you into momentum, that charge your batteries up? Difference between rest and replenishment being important there. Rest is literally like, I just can't do anything, I'm resting. And replenishment is, I am doing something that I know charges me up and fills me up. And it's taking that bigger picture view, Karen, is what I would suggest you do. So just have a look at, how did the year past go? How did it help to energise me? When did I feel at my best? What were the activities that I were doing that were charging me up? How much time did I have for stillness and rest? And then doing the same in terms of just having a little forecast of the year ahead. I'm not feeling so much a sense of needing to do it in tune with the seasons as I was with Alexis for the day. It's much more about being in tune with yourself. Is what Yera is suggesting, saying, what can I learn from the year that has passed about how to manage my energy, and what can I apply? How can I apply that to the year to come? Erica, you've got Algis. So we did Algis right at the very beginning with Esther. Anything else that Algis has to offer, because we've done quite a lot with Odin. The only thing that I'm seeing, Erica, in addition, might be that seeing algaes as the world tree, and almost sort of seeing yourself seated at the world tree with your back to the world tree, might be a very nice sort of calming integration stillness meditation for you. It's like not actually doing anything, but literally either with the world tree, or it depends on the weather really, doesn't it? But you know, if you're able to go out and put your back, you know, against a tree and just allow, you know, trees are really good at absorbing stuff that we really, really don't need. They're much better at dealing with it and composting it down via their roots than we are. So it's literally that tree energy, tuning into that tree energy. That is what I would recommend for you. In addition to what we've talked about for algaes earlier. And Rima, you've got Suelo as well, so I'm going to refer you to what I did for Alexis. I can't feel any more other than just that reassurance, maybe, of that sense of confidence. We can use the Suelo rune. It can look a little bit like a whirling Catherine wheel that forms a golden disc in front of us. Here we go, there's a Suelo rune. And you can see it spinning. And it might be that there are situations where you're not feeling as confident, or you're not feeling protected, and a very gentle protecting working that you can do for yourself is to imagine the Suelo rune. I'm going to stand on my tiptoes a little bit here. Imagine the Suelo rune like over your solar plexus, and imagine it forming in gold, drawing that golden light down over the solar plexus until it forms like a lovely golden shield to offer protection in situations where you might be feeling a little bit fragile, a little bit less confident. You know, even sometimes we can feel like attacked. Very useful for people who are energetically sensitive. I often, on the Myers-Briggs scale, if anyone has done their Myers-Briggs before, I come out as being part introvert, part extrovert. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I realised that actually, although there is a part of me that needs to be alone on that introvert scale, I do, you know, I love being with people and I love connecting with people. But the reason I would come out as different is because it was much more about me being empathic than anything else. And so if I was in a room of people who were, you know, vibing, woohoo, you know, and grounded, I would come out feeling great. And if I was full of a room of people who weren't that, or often though people who had just started their training, you know, their sort of spiritual training, and started working with their energy bodies, and their energy centres were wide open, and they were doing all of the stuff and everything, I'd be like, oh my god, I actually feel really sick, you know, in this environment. So it's much less to do with I don't like being with people, or I do, and much more to do with, you know, who's in the environment at the time. And I found that using that Suelo shield was really helpful for me in situations where people's energy was a bit all over the place. So I hope that's helpful for you there. Esther says, thank you. Marie says, yes, last week. Felicity says, lovely, thank you, lots to sit with. And Marie, that's fine. If you need some more info, do follow up on that. Wonderful. Joe, this felt so true, it brought happy tears. Oh, and a sense of peace. Really need to hear this today. I'm really pleased. Joe, you are totally whole, and we see you. And Karen as well, made me emotional, made so much sense. Oh, I'm glad that has provided some support for you all. Wishing you all so much love for the week ahead. And just a reminder for those of you who are subscribed to Suna Star Wheel, that you're going to be getting your month ahead for March, and your Sacred Play journal will be coming through probably at the end of this week, so that you're all ready to look at, you know, what's coming forward, how do those things work with your birth runes. So we look forward to sending those out to you. If you don't know what Suna Star Wheel is, post in the chat box and we will let you know. Love to everybody, and see you all very soon.